Hello, this is NLA News. We have Loren Pearce here today from Redoubt News. He is going to interview John Darash and Gerard Aprea from the National Liberty Alliance. We also have Terry Moore, a Colorado director. They'll introduce the NLA and discuss some concepts of what the NLA is all about. So I'd like to welcome Loren to the NLA News channel. Give us a brief introduction and take it away, Loren.
Well, thank you. I appreciate the opportunity to be on your program. I am fairly new to this in the sense that I haven't been associated with Redoubt News that long. How this all got started for me, just to give some more background by way of introductions, is I was living in Cedar City, Utah back in 2014. And it came to my attention, as well as many other people in Utah, especially in southern Utah, about what was happening in Bunkerville, Nevada. So several of us just spontaneously, without any pre-planning, we jumped in our vehicles to go down there and see what was going on. Some of us got there, earlier, others got there later. But it was right. I personally got there after the actual event that happened, in the wash, as they call it, the wash underneath the overpass. But I was there to observe and to see firsthand what was going on, and I was able to see firsthand the abuses that were happening from the BLM. I had a chance to briefly talk with Ammon Bundy and got this side of the story, and from there, things just kind of grew as I became more and more familiar with all of the circumstances surrounding that. And then, the whole thing with the Malheur Wildlife Refuge happened, and we arrested them following that, and the murder of Lavoy Finicum, which led me to create a Facebook page called Court Watchers for Constitutional Originalists. At the time, I was thinking, definition of an originalist is somebody like Scalia, Supreme Court Justice Scalia. But it's really anybody who's read the Federalist Papers and has gone back and really tried to dig out what the original intent of the founders were, the framers, when they put together the Constitution. It took a long time before they finally could agree on something and get it ratified. But that's what I was going after, and I really wanted to kind of focus on what was happening with the Bundys and their supporters and defendants. And things led from that to where I started writing for Redoubt News, for Sherry Duval, and that's where I am today. I really did not have much background or knowledge of the National Liberty Alliance until I was contacted by Ollie Smith, and I've had a chance to briefly go on to your website and take a look at some of the information that's there, and found it very interesting. And so I'll probably be asking a lot of questions because, like I say, I'm still fairly new to what you guys are all about, and hopefully you'll be able to inform me as well as anybody else that's listening to this broadcast or this recording.
Yes, I haven't talked to Sherry for quite a while, not since the excitement after Malheur. Redoubt News has always put out very accurate news and is a good source for the western states. We are just getting started here, but we do want an association with Redoubt News. So go ahead, Loren, take it away.
Okay. Well, let me start by some of the things that we talked about earlier when we first were meeting each other over the phone, and that is this whole issue of what's known as the common law sovereign citizen movement. There's a lot of different ideas about what that actually means. I mean, when people think of sovereign citizen, they tend to think of Randy Weaver and Lydia Ridge. A lot of people who are in what we call, I think for want of a better word, the patriot movement or the patriot community, they get, when they hear the words common law or sovereign citizen or admiralty court or gold fringe flag, it tends to turn them off and tune out. And so what I wanted to first to do is approach that whole concept and either, let you have the opportunity to defend it or set me straight on it, or, sort out what the error is from the truth and that kind of thing. So that's kind of where I'd like to start.
I think that we should give a short introduction of who we are, because a lot of the people out there really don't know who we are, how we got started in the committee man movement and then moved into the courts, John and I, because early on we were doing the committee man and we saw how the system was turned on its head, and we took the Board of Elections to court and went all the way up to the appellate court. And at that point, we realized that the courts were like so out of whack that we realized that in order to take this country back, we have to take the courts back. And the judges were a big part of it, but the whole court system is bad. Now, as far as a sovereign citizen goes, I'm going to let John talk because he'll do good on this. But I don't even know, they use that term loosely. I don't even know how you become one. I've never seen a membership card. It's a catch-all phrase that law enforcement is using. Yeah. They call everybody a sovereign citizen is an oxymoron, because you can't be sovereign and be a citizen of the United States. Because if you're a citizen, that means you're a citizen of Washington, D.C., and so then you're not sovereign. And if you're not sovereign, then you're a slave. So just getting that through there real quick, it tells me right away that they don't know the issues and they're just looking for a catch-all phrase. But go ahead, John.
Yeah, remember, our founding fathers used the word citizen also, but the idea of a citizen comes really from a statutory process or a statutory country, or however you want to put that, out there. There is a lot of misconceptions of what we are doing compared to what a lot of other people have tried to do. And really, there's a lot of misinformation out there, and people are running with ideas that really is really giving the elite or the individuals involved with this, really empowering them, empowering the status quo per se. The courts have become unjust. We haven't found a just court in New York yet. We're in the federal courts, and we haven't found a just court there yet either. They really are really serving corporatism, the corporate America, and the Federal Reserve. That's what they're really serving. And anybody that comes up against the establishment is beat down quite hard in the courts. There is that phrase, the sovereign citizen. When we were interviewed by the FBI on a couple of occasions, the first question they asked us if we were sovereign citizens, because they have lumped everyone together, as Gerard had said. But this idea of a sovereign citizen, or these ideas of using certain words or removing yourself from the system, doing all this paperwork or not having a driver's license and all that stuff, really is just giving them power, or just acknowledging that they are in control. The truth of the matter is that we're up against an elite group of people who have worked on seizing this country from the very beginning. Even when the Federalist Papers, the Federalist Papers during that debate, you can find that the enemy was already in the camp. And over time, they've developed this idea of a municipality, which created a small country inside Washington, D.C. Now, of course, that sounds very strange, but that is exactly what the Organic Act of 1871, I think it was. And from there, they started to construct a statutory prison for people. We're all in a statutory prison because you can't do this, or you can't do that, or you can't do the other thing. You get a fine for this or a fine for that. They've taken control of the behavior of the people. And that's what a controlling country does. A country controlled by, in our case, we have a problem. We're controlled by the elite. They control our legislature in Washington. They have controlled the president. They doesn't look like they've been able to control this president, President Trump, at this point. But they've controlled the whole process. The special interest groups have funded a lot of these people who are in office, and in return, they get their will done. So these people are going into Washington doing the will of the elite, or the will of corporate America and not the people, which the people, of course, were the people ones who sent them there. But anyway, get back to this idea of names and stuff. A lot of people think if you use certain language that they've used in the statutory in building all these statutes to try to remove themselves from that, really feeds into empowers them. We take the other approach. We call ourselves we the people, which is who and what we are. We have membership of people who have come together across the entire nation from every state of this union. We've established a unified state grand jury in every state, and the state grand juries came together and established a unified United States common law grand jury. So we, as one accord, over 6,000 members or people coming together to establish, a grand jury on a national level to go into the federal courts for the sole purpose of dealing with subversion. Against the United States of America, against the people, against the Constitution by enemies, both foreign and domestic. And so that's what we're doing, is going into the courts, trying to establish the fraud, because that's what we call it. We don't go and, make certain statements of who we are, what we are. We don't go and remove ourselves from the system. We don't get rid of our driver's licenses. I mean, all these things you need to use to some degree in order to get through the process. You need a social security number. You need a driver's license. They've abused that whole system, and of course, a driver's license really is only for commercial use, not for the regular driver. But of course, you're only looking for trouble if you try to drive without a driver's license. So you might as well get one until we can fix the system. Try to keep yourself out of jail so we can fight this process. But nevertheless, the bottom line really is that this is fraud. And that's how we see it. We call it for what it is. So whenever we meet resistance in the court now, we immediately bring it to that fraud, get it into the statements into the record, and push forward the process. We've opened a court case here in New York, up in Albany. That's the Northern District, federal Northern District federal court system, and we're establishing, we probably have about 100 cases going into this thing. We are pursuing on a criminal level. We've made a connection with the president. We've been copying him for quite some time. Even before he became elected, he was interested in what we were doing. So we've been copying him for quite some time. We started copying Jeff Sessions recently, about a month ago. We haven't heard back from him yet, and we're about ready to follow up with a second letter to him, because he's supposed to be the law enforcer. And he believes in the law, so says he, so says the president. And we're going to hold their feet to the fire on that. So we're pursuing everything that is going on, really. We're putting it on the record. And you can find that record up on our website, nationallibertyalliance.org. Highlight the grand jury and click on docket. And then you will find all of the paperwork that we have filed in the courts. We filed a tremendous amount already. We've got a lot more going on. We're also helping people out with mortgage problems, these non-judicial foreclosures or non-judicial tax foreclosures, mortgage foreclosures or tax foreclosures. Both of them are illegal. And so we're working with that in our court case. We're also working with habeas corpuses, where we've got about 30 of them out there where people are unjustly incarcerated. Working to try to get them out of prison through a habeas corpus, which the courts have been ignoring. We're now going to be feeding that into our court case. We've got up against New York State, the gun laws of New York State, the SAFE Act particularly, but we went after all the gun laws. We filed papers against the governor and both houses, and they have defaulted. Matter of fact, we've just written up default papers to go in. So there's a lot going on in what we're doing. We're doing something. We're using the system that belongs to we the people. We're ignoring all of the statutory processes that don't belong in a common law setting. And we're not using their language in order to separate ourselves as, we're sovereign this and they're, that, whatever names are used in that process. We're just going in with the truth as we the people against those who are subversive against our system, particularly in the judiciary, but also in all branches of government.